Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. US President Donald Trump issues last warning to Hamas to accept hostage deal or face consequences. Hamas says discussing ideas received from the US. Trump indicates readiness to impose new sanctions on Moscow hours after Russian drones hit Kyiv. European leaders to visit US to discuss Russia-Ukraine conflict. Detained workers to fly back after South Korea reaches deal with US to release citizens. White House border czar vows more raids on businesses. And in sports, Indian men's hockey team beats defending champion South Korea to win the Asia Cup title. India earns direct qualification for the Hockey World Cup in 2026. And another chapter added in the craziest rivalry of modern tennis as Carlos Alcaraz beats arch-rival Jannik Sinner to claim his second US Open title. And on to the details now. US President Donald Trump on Sunday issued a last warning to Hamas to accept a deal to release hostages from Gaza. Trump, in a social media post, warned Hamas to accept the Gaza truce and hostage deal or face consequences. The post comes after Steve Witkoff, Trump's envoy to the Middle East, sent a new proposal last week to Hamas for a hostage and ceasefire deal through an Israeli peace activist. Trump also said that the US is going to have a deal on Gaza very soon as he traveled back to Washington from New York. He added that he thought all the hostages would be returned dead or alive.
No, but you'll be hearing about it pretty soon. We're trying to get it ended, get the hostages back, get it ended. We got them all back, but 20. And as you know, we have 20, plus there are a lot of, unfortunately, dead bodies involved. And they want them back. The parents want them back. So we had some very good discussions. Good things could happen.
Well, under the deal, Hamas would free all the remaining 48 hostages on the first day of the truce in exchange for thousands of Palestinian prisoners jailed in Israel and negotiate an end to the conflict. Trump's comments came as the Israeli military began flattening high-rise buildings in Gaza City, marking the first major phase in its new offensive to occupy the city. The operation is backed by Trump, is expected to escalate in the coming days. Hamas said it was ready to immediately sit at the negotiating table and that it received some ideas from the United States side to reach a ceasefire deal in Gaza. Hamas also reiterated its readiness for negotiations to release all hostages in exchange for a clear announcement of an end to the conflict and the complete withdrawal of Israeli forces from the conclave. Well, latest on Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Sunday said Kyiv expects a strong response from its international partners, particularly the United States, in the wake of latest Russian mass strike on government building in the capital. In his evening address, Zelensky said that he was counting on a strong U.S. response to the latest massive Russian barrage on Kyiv, its largest ever. The strike damaged the Cabinet of Ministers building in central Kyiv, marking the first time the government building has been hit since the conflict began in February 2022.
It is clear that Russia is trying to hurt Ukraine, and the attacks are becoming more brazen. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine is informing all partners about the latest Russian escalation. We are counting on a strong response from America. This is what is needed.
Well, the U.S. envoy to Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, said the Russian attack looks like an escalation in the conflict. The U.S. envoy, in a special media post, said the attack was not a signal that Russia wants to diplomatically end this conflict. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump said on Monday that he's ready to move to a second stage of sanctioning Russia over the conflict in Ukraine. He also told reporters that individual European leaders would visit the United States on Monday or Tuesday to discuss how to resolve the Ukraine-Russian conflict. Trump also said he would speak to Russian President Vladimir Putin soon. Well, South Korea has secured the release of approximately 300 nationals who were detained during a massive U.S. immigration raid at a Hyundai motor battery plant in Elabel, Georgia last week. The operation, the largest single-site enforcement by the Department of Homeland Security, had arrested about 475 workers, mostly South Koreans, for alleged unlawful employment. A chartered plane is set to repatriate them by Wednesday. The $4.3 billion Hyundai LG project remains a key economic venture. While LG Energy Solution, with 47 detained employees, and has suspended business trips to the U.S., South Korea, having pledged $350 billion in U.S. investments, aims to reform visa systems to prevent future incidents amid strained relations as U.S. President Donald Trump vows more workplace raids. And President Trump warned the foreign companies to obey U.S. law after the South Korean workers were arrested at the Hyundai LG battery plant. Trump said he would look at what happened following the raid and also that it had not harmed his relationship with South Korea. Trump has called on all foreign companies investing in the United States to respect United Nations immigration laws.
So I'm going to look at that. It's a very interesting situation that took place in Georgia. And we heard about it yesterday. At the same time, ICE was doing right because they were here illegally. But we do have to work something out where we bring in experts so that our people can be trained so that they can do it themselves.
Well, thousands of supporters of former far-right Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro staged a protest across several cities on Sunday, days ahead of the conclusion of his trial for allegedly plotting a coup after losing the 2022 presidential election. Demonstrators in Sao Paulo waved Brazilian and U.S. flags in support of U.S. President Donald Trump, who called the legal actions against Bolsonaro a witch hunt. Despite the support, Trump has also imposed tariffs on Brazilian goods and sanctioned the judges involved in Bolsonaro's trial. Similar protests were also held in Brasilia and Rio de Janeiro. Brazil's Supreme Court is expected to rule by September 12th, while Bolsonaro has already been barred from running for office until 2030. And Guyana's Irfan Ali of the ruling People's Progressive Party was sworn in for a second term as president on Sunday after his victory was ratified by the Electoral Commission. Ali vowed on Sunday that he would build a diversified economy that would create jobs, raise incomes and secure prosperity. In September 1st election, the People's Progressive Party won 36 seats, 3 more than in the previous one. The V Invest in Nationhood Party won 16 seats, a Partnership for National Unity got 12, and the Forward Guyana Movement secured 1. Ali's government, which took office in 2020, has invested in the construction of roads, schools and hospitals and has made tuition at the State University free. Well, Brazil celebrated its Independence Day with a civic military parade in Brasilia, led by President Lula da Silva. But the festive mood was faded by rising trade tensions with the U.S. after President Donald Trump slapped a 50% tariff on Brazilian exports. Well, the parade, themed as Sovereign Brazil, unfolded as Trump defended the tariffs, calling them retaliation against the ally, ex-President Jair Bolsonaro, currently on trial over an alleged coup attempt. While Brazil honored its freedom, global politics loomed large over the celebrations. And Mexican authorities have detained 14 people suspected of being involved in the illicit trade of fuels so far. Mexico's Secretary of Security, Omar Garcia Harfuch, said authorities seized a petroleum tanker in the port of Tampico together with nearly 63,000 barrels of diesel as well as containers and vehicles on 19th of March. The tanker had arrived from the United States as per the LSEG tracking data. The authorities further mentioned the seized tanker was carrying diesel wrongly declared as a tax-exempt petrochemical. Well, the 14 suspects, including officials and businessmen, have been detained in the ongoing fuel smuggling investigation. And some news from around the world now. Hundreds of women gathered in Mexico City on Sunday to take part in mass self-defense classes, addressing concerns over gender-based violence and street insecurity. Well, the event, organized by the community centers and government bodies, saw participants of all ages joining a high-energy session, learning basic techniques to protect themselves. London Underground workers began a week of strikes on Sunday set to bring the network to a standstill and cause a massive disruption for travellers in the British capital. Well, the Rail, Maritime and Transport Union is striking over pay, fatigue, shift patterns and shorter working hours. Passengers have been asked to finish journeys by 6 p.m. with almost no trains running Monday to Thursday. London's public transport operator Transport for London has offered a 3.4% pay rise and working to resolve the issues. Bolivia marked its annual Pedestrian Day on Sunday by closing streets to motorized traffic for 18 hours. Cities were turned into public spaces for walking, cycling and outdoor activities, and residents used bicycles, skateboards and walked through main streets, joining events like Zumba, dancing and guided exercises. Organized by local authorities, the day has been held since 2011 to raise awareness about the environment and sustainable transport. Staff at a shop in Texas were surprised and excited to learn they sold one of the winning Powerball tickets for a $1.8 billion jackpot. The store, which opened earlier this year, hopes the win will bring in more customers. The jackpot, shared with a winner in Missouri, is the second largest in U.S. history. Winners can choose between $893.5 million paid over 30 years or a $410.3 million lump sum before taxes. An Australian woman convicted of murdering 3 elderly relatives of her estranged husband with a meal containing poisonous mushrooms was sentenced to a minimum of 33 years in prison on Monday. Patterson was found guilty in July of killing her in-laws in a case that has been globally followed and dubbed the Leogatha mushroom murders. A jury also found the 50-year-old guilty of the attempted murder of Ian Wilkinson, her sister-in-law's husband, who survived the 2023 meal at Patterson's home. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. 13th FTA negotiations between India and EU to begin today, talks crucial in determining the next steps. Total lunar eclipse enthralls sky watchers, blood moon witnessed in Delhi, Mumbai, Bengaluru. And Indian Navy band participates in the 50th Independence Day celebrations of Papua New Guinea.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar.
Johar. And it fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Well, welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, the 13th round of free trade agreement negotiations between India and the European Union set to begin on Monday. Well, the outcome of this round of negotiations will be crucial in determining the next steps. Following the negotiations round, the European Commission's Agriculture Commissioner Christopher Hansen and Trade Chief Marko Sefcovic are also likely to be in India later this week to hold talks with Indian counterpart Piyush Goyal. Also, the concerning issues between India and EU are related to differences in areas of rules of origin, market access and duties on wine and dairy products. The next round has been slated for early next month in Brussels. If resolved, both sides look to seal the FTA by end of this year. The European Union is India's biggest trade partner, with bilateral trade in goods recording $135 billion USD in the financial year 2023-24. Well, also expected in Delhi's Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, who will be leading an economic delegation to India to seal cooperation agreements that are expected to deepen economic relations and boost mutual investments between the two countries. During the three-day visit to India starting Monday, Smotrich is expected to meet with his counterpart and other senior government officials alongside business representatives and representatives of the Jewish community in the country. And a manipulated video is circulating online, falsely portraying the Indian Chief of Army, Chief General Upendra Dwivedi, as making statements about India losing fighter jets and soldiers during Operation Sindoor. In a fact check undertaken by the Press Information Bureau, it has been found that the Indian Chief of Army Staff has not made any such statement. It added that fake AI videos are being spread to mislead and cause panic. PIB further urged citizens to report any such content on mobile number 918799711259 or write to factcheck@pib.gov.in. And when India's daughters take to the seas, they do more than sail. They shatter the glass ceilings. In a historic first, 10 women officers from the Indian Navy and Air Force will embark on a tri-service circumnavigation mission on board Indian Army sailing vessel or IASV Triveni on Thursday, that is 11 September, covering 26,000 plus nautical miles, crossing the equator twice and rounding the three Great Capes. The team will brave the world's toughest oceans, including the Southern Ocean and Drake Passage. This all-women expedition is not just about sailing. It is a milestone in India's maritime journey, showcasing Nari Shakti, or women power in uniform, tri-service unity and the spirit of adventure. Well, the Indian Navy band participated in the military tattoo as the part of the 50th Independence Day celebrations of Papua New Guinea. In a post on X, the Indian Navy spokesperson highlighted that the Indian Navy band presented a repertoire of martial tunes and Indian melodies, earning wide appreciation from the audience and dignitaries. Along with the Indian Navy band's participation in the military tattoo, there were several other nations that also came together, symbolizing unity, discipline and shared heritage through the universal language of music. The goodwill visit symbolizes India's commitment to strengthening its engagement with Pacific Island nations under the ACT East policy and promoting peace, stability and inclusive growth in the Indo-Pacific region. And moving on, as the monsoon activity continues, many parts of India are expected to receive light to heavy rainfall over the coming days. While Gujarat and Rajasthan brace for intense downpours owing to the depression, the rest of the country isn't behind. From the hills to the coast, here's what to expect. Light to moderate rain with isolated heavy spells likely to be seen over the hilly areas of Jammu, Himachal and Uttarakhand. Meanwhile, the flood situation has eased as Punjab level recedes slightly. On the other hand, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha and Bihar will also see wet days through mid-September. Well, the natives can expect frequent showers in Assam, Meghalaya, Arunachal and other northeastern states, especially between 11th to 13th of September. Among the southern Indian states, Tamil Nadu and Kerala, coastal Andhra and Rayalaseema are set to get scattered rain. Strong winds are expected along the Andhra coast. Well, the celestial enthusiasts across the world witnessed the rare total lunar eclipse or blood moon on the 7th of September. The Earth's shadow started covering the lunar disk at 9:57 p.m. IST. By 11:01 p.m. IST, the Earth's shadow completely covered the moon at 11:01 p.m. IST, turning it coppery red, putting up the stunning display. Well, this lunar eclipse, the second one for this year and longest since 2022, was visible across India, including in major cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad and others. Apart from India, the eclipse was also visible in Australia, the Far East, the Middle East, Europe and some parts of Africa. Well, the stargazers witnessed the shadow of Earth gracefully glide across the moon, transforming it into a glowing coppery red disk.
And today with my family, we are witnessing it for the first time here. So I believe that, these eclipses are just to cleanse yourself. The moon energy will cleanse, detoxification of your body. So it is very, very natural phenomena.
This was one of the most interesting experiences I have ever seen. Extremely immersing and more interesting than any article could ever be. I am glad to have watched this amazing phenomena.
Lunar eclipse occurs when sun, moon and earth comes in a straight line, and sun and moon are two sides apart, and the shadow of earth falls on the moon. So this happens only during a full moon day.
Well, on to some sports news now. The Indian men's hockey team has won the Asian Cup 2025 title by beating defending champions 4-1 in the finals Rajgir in Bihar on Sunday. Dilpreet Singh scored 2 goals while Sukhjit Singh and Amit Rohidas scored a goal each. Dainson opened the scoring for Korea the very next minute, but it proved merely to be a consolation goal. This is India's 4th Asia Cup title and the first since 2017. The victory also guarantees India's direct entry into the upcoming World Cup. The FIH World Cup in 2026 will take place in the Netherlands and Belgium. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated Indian men's hockey team on their triumph to win over South Korea in the final of Asia Cup. He wrote on X, and I quote, "Congratulations to our men's hockey team for their splendid win in the Asian Cup 2025 held in Rajgir, Bihar. This win is even more special because they have defeated the defending champions, South Korea. This is a proud moment for Indian hockey and Indian sports. May our players continue to scale even greater heights and bring more glory to the nation," unquote. Well, from US Open, Spaniard Carlos Alcaraz clinched his second US Open title, beating arch rival Jannik Sinner in the finals on Sunday. Carlos Alcaraz ended the reign of Jannik Sinner with a 6-2, 3-6, 6-1, 6-4 and took his revenge for the Wimbledon final loss earlier this year. In a perfect echo of the triumph that first propelled him to the #1 spot in 2022, Alcaraz's second New York title lifted him back to the top of the world rankings. A dejected Sinner was left to contemplate another Grand Slam final loss to Alcaraz this season after coming up short in their French Open epic in June. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Well, let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code in the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.